Hi friends, today I'm going to be showing you how to add elastic to the laminated TN covers and also how to make the folders that go inside. First step is I punch the holes for the elastic cord using the 1/8 inch hole in my crocodile, and I try to line them up with the crease lines in the spine as close as possible, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And I also try to get the holes about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Sometimes the creases are hard to see, but like I said, they don't have to be perfectly lined up. It's okay if it's not. And then next, what I'm going to do is take a leather punch that I have. I also use it for making rivet holes sometimes. And I'm just going to punch a hole right in the center of the spine, just as lined up in the middle as close as possible. And this is for the elastic that goes in the center to hold the traveler's notebook together, to hold it closed. I'm just trying to make the hole big enough for the elastic to fit through. Next, it's time to string the elastic through. And what I'm using is 1mm elastic cord. I've tried using thicker cord before because I was worried that this may easily break, but it made the traveler's notebook too bulky. So I just went back to the 1mm cord, and so far it's not given me any issues. As you can see, I start by threading in the top left hole, go straight down to the bottom hole, then I come through to the middle holes, once I have all those threaded through, then I'm going to go back up through the center hole on each side and then tie my cord. And I try to hold it tight so that the cords aren't too loose or slack. Otherwise, it won't hold the notebooks in well. And I usually try to do a double knot just to make sure it's not going anywhere. And then trim off the edges. And there's one ready. And I don't measure my cord. As you can see here, for the middle part, I just kind of wrap around and then just kind of eye it to see what size it needs to be. And then I tie a knot on the ends to make a big loop. And then I feed that through that center hole. Sometimes it's hard to get through. And then once I pull it through, there's how you close the traveler's notebook. And here you'll get to see how I do it again on this one. So you just go back and forth, and this creates 4 strands, which means your traveler's notebook cover will hold 4 inserts. Again, just try to make the cord as tight as you can without being too tight. Again, we double knot to make sure that cord's not going anywhere. Here we're just tying a knot on the end again. And make sure the knot is big enough to where it will not go through the hole in the center. Otherwise it won't hold the notebook shut and it may pull out. And there we have that one. And now we're moving on to the folders. I already have my paper cut and folded in half. So that's the first two steps. I will have a diagram in the video here that will show the measurements for a standard traveler's notebook sized folder. That way if you'd like to screenshot that, you're welcome to try to make your own. So here I'm taking my scoreboard, and each of the folders I score at 1 inch on each side first. So I'm just flipping it around there and doing 1 inch again. And then along the bottom, make sure you get the bottom and not the top by accident, I'm scoring at 3 inches. This will be the part for the pockets. And as you can see, like I said, I've already got the folder folded down the middle, just so I don't have to try to calculate exactly where the middle is. So again, 1 inch on each side, and then turn it and do 3 inches along the bottom. And there, as you can see, I have the measurements if you'd like to screenshot this so you could try one yourself. So once I have everything scored, I've got some areas that I need to cut out before I can start using my tape gun. And here I'm just folding on those creases. And then I'm going to cut a triangle out along that middle crease. And also I have an extra part on the side parts of the pockets that I don't need. And you fold on the outside of the top part of that crease, and then on the inside on the pocket side, as you can see. And then I take my bone folder and then I just make a crease where that pocket meets the flap on the side, and I'm going to cut a notch out on each side. That also helps where the folder won't be so bulky when you try to close it. And here you can see it again if that was too quick. So I'm folding the creases, cutting my triangle out at the middle, cut the extra flaps out, and then score for your notches. And I cut inside the score line for that first cut. Because I don't want any hanging over my pocket, as you'll see whenever I glue it. I use a Scotch HEG tape runner. And then I want to make sure I get a good amount on those flaps. And I also like to put an extra line on the folder part itself and along the sides. And then push them down. And I just try to rub that with my folder there, just to make sure it gets burnished real well. And then you repeat on the other side. And there's the first folder. And then we'll just repeat the process again. I'm currently sitting outside doing this voiceover, so if you hear any animals, that would be why. And there we have a second folder. I also like to cut the corners on my folders as well. To me, it just gives them a more finished look. So now the two folders are finished. And I'm going to be adding them to my traveler's notebooks. As you can see, I just slide it right onto the elastic, one of the elastic cords, and there it is. And there you have it for that part. Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching.